We know what needs to be done.
Pollution will get worse, politics will get more oppressive, less individual liberties, and Charlton will be in the Premiership.
Tony Blair will be Prime Minister.
Impending death?
I think they're going to privatise sex and laughter and anything else that's fun.
I find his remarks deeply offensive.
England might win a test match.
I think we're going to find life on another planet.
There are still going to be wars. There's going to be no hope of peace.
Hopefully I'll get a proper job.
And now it's time for the Mark Steele solution.
Good evening and welcome to the final Mark Steele Solution, the programme where each week I come up with a radical proposal to change all of our lives for the better. And this week's proposal concerns life. Because for the first time in over 50 years, life is actually getting harder. Like, when I was at school, I used to skive off sometimes, and the teachers, if they caught me, would sit me down in a room, and every now and again they'd say things like, "I'll tell you what, my boy, you might think you're being clever, but I'll tell you what's going to happen. You carry on skiving like this, and do you know where you're going to end up with no qualifications? Driving a van." And now what they do is they get the brightest kid in the class and they sit them down and they say, "Now look, we've got big hopes for you because we think if you do all your homework and you get your O-levels and you study in the sixth form and you get your A-levels and you go to university and get a degree, with a bit of luck you'll end up driving a van." And yet most people's response to life getting harder is just to go, "Oh, well, nothing much you can do about it." We seem to have entered an age of pessimism. Look at politicians, they're so pessimistic, they don't even know what they want. 30 years ago, politicians used to say things like, "I want a Britain in which we all have a decent job and a decent house and there's no crime." But any politician who said that now would be sacked for being ridiculously unrealistic. So now you have the leader of the Labour Party, and if he's asked what he wants, he just says things like, "I want a Britain in which we can create the essence of a new Britain, in which the British people can all become something in which we have in with each ourselves, the very stake of a new Britain." If you've got a bit of optimism about you, you can explain very simply what you want. "I want a car. I want a girlfriend." But Tony Blair's like one of these people when you're stuck at a bar for ages without getting served, and you finally get served after waving this £10 note, and you go, "Right, we've been served, a party log for me, and what do you want? What do you want?" "I want a drink in which we go..." "No, what do you want? We don't want no. What I want is something in which we..." "No, quick, he's going. You've had 17 years to make up your mind. What do you want?" "I want a drink in which we all have a stake." And that is why tonight's solution is that pessimists should be persecuted by law. Now, I can see some people thinking that this might be a little harsh, but quite apart from all the damage that pessimists cause, wouldn't the world be better if we could persecute people like this?
And now we come to the award for Best Whinger. And the nominations are Mr. Birkinshaw for The Weather.
Rain, rain, rain. We don't get summers anymore. And then yesterday it was baking hot. I couldn't go out. I couldn't stay in. It was playing havoc with my sciatica. And then this afternoon it was far too mild. I said to Elsie, "I'm not going all the way to the chemist in this mildness. I'll catch my death of mild."
Mrs. Armitage for Buses.
4 days I was stood there, 700 of them went the other way, then 3,000 of them came at once, I ask you.
And Alf Didbury for Doctors.
23 days I was on the cars. I've been to all the specialists. They don't know what it is. I've got earache, elbow ache, now my pancreatic duct's giving me jip. They give me these big purple tablets. They only make me giddy. Now it turns out I'm a man trapped in a woman's body. Doctors...
So no one could argue against persecuting the sort of people who say, "How am I? Don't ask," or "Just my luck," or "That's all I need," or "Story of my life, that is." So when people say that, I think, look, if you are a Hutu from Rwanda who accidentally strolls into a camp of armed Tutsi warriors, you are entitled to go, "Just my luck, story of my life." If it's because you've run out of spring onions and you were going to make a salad, shut up and put up with it. But But the trouble is, it's not just these sorts of people who are affected by pessimism. It affects all of us. You get an official-looking letter and it stays on the table for 2 days while you walk round it every now and then, prodding it like it's a weird-looking insect. So that by the time you open it, even if it's just got something in it like, oh, nothing really, you think, oh, thank God for that. And how many people on election night, no matter how many exit polls show that Labour are going to win every single seat, will still go, nah, Tories will get in again. But how do we become like this? Because there's no such thing as a pessimistic 4-year-old. When you're 4, everything is new and exciting. Look, look, what? Look, over there, look, look, what? Look, a cup. Look, what now? Over there, look, what? Look, 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 what? A ladybird. There's no cynicism. But then school comes along to teach you that you shouldn't be enthusiastic and creative. You've got to learn the rules. Like when the teacher comes around to collect your homework, and if you haven't done it, and they say, why not? If you say, well, I've written this symphony instead, they just go, psh, next time do as you're told. But somehow you stay enthusiastic. It's just that by the time you're a teenager, that enthusiasm has turned into an optimistic anger. And it'd be brilliant if once a week the news was read by 13-year-olds.
The 9 o'clock news, read by Jason and Becky.
Listen, it's out of order, like in Bosnia, right? There was all these Serbs, yeah? And these other ones, like these Croats or something, and they all started fighting because one of them, right, had been dissing the others, and that's well out of order because it was right in front of their mums and everything. More details from Becky.
Yeah, we was like saying we should do something because, like, the United Nations is really crap, right? So me and Vicky and Leslie and Shelley is going to send them a boy's own poster.
That report from Becky. Now, Becky with the weather.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely freezing, right? Like -80 or something. So if you're going out, right, make sure you wear, like, a really skimpy dress and stilettos and hang around all night outside Spa, all right?
That's the news tonight. On our next bulletin, we're going to have a live interview with Nelson Mandela. We are, right, because my mate reckons he's got his mobile number and I'm just going to, like, ring him up.
But bit by bit, they try to grind this passion out of you. Shut up, get inside, don't talk to me like that. And then adults say, well, we talk to you like that for your own good. But it can't be, because if it was, they'd do that to everybody. But they don't, do they? Like, if the next door neighbour comes round and spills her tea, my mum never, ever gets up and goes, how many times do I have to tell you? Be more careful, Mrs. Henderson! But still, your optimism and anger about injustice seems to survive. I got to about 18 and I was on the dole and I started to read about socialism. So I wrote this leaflet. There is no reason to be unemployed. Under socialism, everything will be made for human need and everyone will get on. By the way, I don't like Russia. Come to my meeting, 8 o'clock, Town Arms, Gravesend. And I gave it out at Gravesend Dole office. And then I got down the pub for 7 o'clock and I thought, right, they'll be here any minute. Right, yeah, here we are now. I'm not sure they're all fitting here because I gave 100 leaflets. So say, well, let's say they all come, that's 100. Then, say they all go out to the St tomorrow, that's 10,000. That'll be, got to be about another week and a half before we have socialism. I'll just have to be patient, never mind, right, hang about. And then it's got to 10 to 8 and I'm thinking, right, now they'll all be here any second now. And then it's 8:15 and I think, oh, maybe they're all crashed into each other on the car or something. And then it's 8:30 and you're thinking, oh, maybe they all turned up at 8 o'clock this morning. Maybe that was it. Because you blame yourself in these situations. Like, I actually arranged to meet somebody once and the arrangement was underneath the Eiffel Tower at 2 o'clock. And it got to about 2:30 and I started thinking, well, is there another Eiffel Tower in town? But eventually I just had to come to terms with it. No one was coming to my meeting. And that is when you're open to despair, because you think, well, I tried, no one else could be bothered, so from now on I'm just going to look after myself. Because there's so many things encouraging you to be pessimistic, especially at the moment. If Neolithic man had the Stone Age, this is the pessimism age. Having an opinion or principles is like having an old-fashioned dial phone. People go, oh, you haven't still got one of them, have you? we got rid of ours years ago, mate. We've got irony now. You don't need to care about nothing, only football. It's like with music. Even that's considered to be out of date if it's about something. So it's supposed to be just a laugh, like Blur, and people go, no, Blur are geniuses. I mean, that Damon, they just write such catchy tunes. And I think, yeah, well, so is a finger of fudge is just enough to give the kids a treat. So we live in a pessimistic age, and yet most people do want things to be different. They just don't believe it's possible. And is that surprising when every day we're told by the media and by politicians that this is the best we can hope for? So that the party which was set up with the purpose of changing society now actually makes it a condition of joining that you won't try to change anything.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tony Blair.
Thank you, party conference. And let us be quite clear. When we are elected, I promise you that I shall do my utmost to achieve absolutely nothing. Now, I know that there are those in the party who cling to the old-fashioned belief that we should at least aim to do something. Well, let me say this. If you persist with this outdated rhetoric, you will lose us the election and we shall never be given the opportunity to do nothing. Well, let me assure you, we shall do nothing about housing, we shall do nothing about poverty, we shall do nothing about education. I shall work night and day and I shall not rest until I have achieved nothing. That is the exciting message I want you to take from this conference to inspire the British people.
So with all this, is it any wonder that people end up pessimistic? People look around and come to the conclusion that although they would like to change the world, no one else can be bothered. So they say things like, oh, these blokes who buy the Sun, they only care about page 3 and the racing, and you've got to look after yourself because everyone's trying to rob you. But are people just selfish? Even these blokes who buy the Sun, are they really that bad? Like, you see them down the football yelling things like, you're going home in a bleeding ambulance. And you think, well, that could be pretty bad, but on the other hand, I don't think they're as bad as all that, because they haven't really thought this chant through, have they? Because even if they were really going to go and injure all the other fans, what sort of a rubbish ambulance driver would it be that just picked them up and drove them home? So most blokes who behave like this, they're just doing it for front. Male behaviour is mostly for front. I was in this place in Wales called Pontardawe, and there was a travelling fair there, and I thought, oh, I'll have a go on the Dodgems. I've got an hour to spare, right? And I paid £1, and I got on this Dodgem, and I got halfway round, and this bloke's come running over, and he's gone, "Oi, you! No bumping!" And at first, I just thought, well, what do you think I got on here for? Do you think I got in it to use it as a normal means of transport? Do you think I thought, oh, I fancy going on the shooting range, but it's all the way over there and there won't be a bus? And then I thought, well, in this little town, this is the only chance that a bloke like that's got of looking important, isn't it? Like, for this little period of time, he can make himself look powerful because he can, like, stand on the back of something and go, there you are, you see, that'll impress the girls. I'm on the back of a rubber thing at 3 miles an hour. And is it really the case that everybody's out to rob you? Oh, you've got to make sure you lock and bolt everything these days because, whoa. But most crimes are committed by criminals. If you forget to lock your car door, the vast majority of people do not see it and think, well, I'm not usually a car thief. But seeing as that one's unlocked, I'm going to climb in, hotwire it, respray it, sell it to a bloke in Germany, make myself a monkey. And yet, to listen to some people, you'd think that everyone in the country spends every day thinking up ingenious ways of robbing you.
Have you heard the latest? What they're doing is gangs of boys are dressing up as sheep, going down to country lanes and crossing the road in front of your car so you have to stop.
No.
And then one of them pretends to be the farmer, breaks into your boot and steals your shopping.
Well, there's this woman at the dentist's. She swilled some of that pink mouthwash. It was drugged.
No.
She's woken up in the Middle East surrounded by Arabs. Now she's a sex slave to the Sultan of Brunei.
I mean, that is nothing. Honestly, there was a man in Swindon. 270 years of age. They said they was from Meals on Wheels. Yeah. One of them dressed up as a steak and kidney pudding, got inside his stomach, stole his lower intestine and sold it to a Mexican. Can you believe it? What sort of work?
And if they catch them, they'll only clip them round the ear.
Yeah, they will. They will.
But it's not surprising that people think like this when the front page of every local newspaper that's ever been printed has something like "Mad Axeman runs amok in chip shop, row erupts over gherkin." And then if there's no local crime at all, next week it'll be "Police warn, gherkin madman could strike again." The truth is, in spite of life getting harder, most people do have a good side and a dislike of injustice. If everyone's selfish, why do people give blood? Ah, typical, trying to get a free biscuit off the state. Why do people become nurses or firefighters? Why do strangers knock on your door and tell you that you've left your headlights on? Are they thinking, well, I don't want his battery to run flat because I'm going to nick that car later? If no one cared about other people or wanted to fight against injustice, Hollywood would go bankrupt, because most of the great films are based on people siding with the one person who doesn't go, oh, well, nothing you can do. If pessimists were right, the most popular films ever would have gone like this.
20th Century Fox presents Mel Gibson as Realistic Heart.
William, there's thousands of English soldiers marching on the village. Come quickly, you're our only hope.
Oh, what's the point?
It's the finest war movie ever made, starring Gordon Jackson as a man with a mission.
Right, here's the plan. We don't make any trouble, and we stay here till the war ends.
Right, fair enough.
Just tell me which one of you is Spartacus, and you have my word that the rest of you shall go free.
I am Spartacus.
All right, Spartacus, you better come with me. So everybody likes the idea of somebody getting up and fighting back, but the trouble is pessimism means that most people think there's no point in being that one. And that's the worst thing about pessimism. The ruling class love it. Because no matter what dreadful thing they come up with, you might get millions of people thinking, that's terrible. They can't get away with that. But then the pessimists come along going, they will, you know, you're wasting your time. So the pessimist in all of us starts thinking, oh, maybe they're right. And then everyone goes home, and then the pessimist goes, told ya. So clearly, the present system of not persecuting pessimists has to change. But before we look at the alternatives, let's hear from our regular correspondent, live from number 9 Begonia Close, the voice of the cul-de-sac, Mr. Cul-de-sac.
This is the sound, this is the sound of the suburbs.
Pessimists? Don't talk to me about pessimists. I saw a bloke with a sign saying, the end is nigh. I said, don't be so optimistic. We've got years of this misery left yet. I saw that Tony Blair going on about Clause 4. I looked it up. It says, this hire car must be returned by noon on Wednesday. And the manners of people nowadays. I went into a chip shop. This bloke said, can you pass me a gherkin? I said, you can get your own gherkin, axe or no axe. 69 pence for a packet of pencils. It's a waste of ratepayers' money. They could have spent that money hanging people. I did the lottery once, 49 numbers to choose from. I only got 6 of them right. Story of my life. I ripped my ticket up, threw it away. I was in Gravesend once. This bloke gave me a leaflet outside the dole office. It said, come to a meeting 8 o'clock in the morning. I was there. He never turned up. I thought, stuff a lot of you. From now on, I'm looking after number 1. And the two-faced, money-grabbing nature of the modern world. I said to this woman the other day, £50 for straight sex? If I'd known that, I'd have been nicer to the wife. I rang this... I rang this bloke up. I said, my hydrangea's not flowering. What am I going to do? He said, this is the Samaritans, Mr. Cul-de-sac. I said, I know it is, and that hydrangea's the only friend I've got in the world. I've been writing a letter to the Optimist. Here it is. Dear Optimist, I knew a bloke once who had hope. Now he's dead.
This is the sound. This is the sound.
And so what are the alternatives? Well, one alternative to pessimism is just to be a blind optimist. The sort of person who phones you at 7:30 and says, I'll meet you at Liverpool Street Station, 8 o'clock. Yeah, I should just make it. And in the background you can hear this, oh, and you say, what's that? And he says, well, I'm in Morocco at the moment. Blind optimists are the sort of people who come up with mad business schemes, like going around pubs selling pencil sharpeners, or commit stupid crimes like trying to nick a llama from the zoo to sell to the butchers, or say ridiculously optimistic things like, this one's in the bag, let's celebrate with a rally in Sheffield. Now, another alternative is simply to sort out your own pessimism by going for therapy. But this ignores the reality of the outside world and brings everything down to your own personal attitude. So no matter how bad your circumstances were, therapists would be like this.
OK, I'm picking up a lot of tension from you tonight. Now, do you want to share your anxiety with me? I'm getting a sense that you're finding this silence uncomfortable.
No, I'm uncomfortable because in 20 minutes' time, I'm going to be executed by a firing squad.
Is that a difficult thought for you?
I don't want to die.
Were you afraid of bullets as a child?
So clearly the only answer is that pessimists should be persecuted by law. So how would this system work? Well, anyone who went around moaning and whinging and saying, just my luck, what's the point? Or, it's human nature, survival of the fittest, mate. It wouldn't just be against the law. They would be hounded from their homes, laughed at in the street, refused entry to parks and public places, and denied access to the library. And they wouldn't be safe anywhere. Evening, what are you having?
Pint of lager, please.
Right, there you go. 1 pint of lager coming up. Oh, I see the Tories are 82% behind in the polls.
Yeah, but they'll get in again. You watch. They'll take half a pence off income tax and everyone will vote for it.
All right, sir, you're next. This is the undercover pessimism police. Come this way.
Oh, I knew this would happen.
Oh, you're only making yourself worse. So eventually there'd be fewer and fewer pessimists left, forced to go underground and hide from the authorities.
OK, this is their hideout. We're going in.
There's nobody here, Sarge.
They're in here somewhere. I know it.
Hang on. This is a false wall. Move that bookcase.
No, please, I can explain.
Well. Thought you could hide in here and get away with it, did you?
Yeah.
All right, off you go then.
So after a few years, there'd only be a couple of diehards left.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tony Blair.
Thank you, Mr. Mandelson. Welcome to the Town Arms Gravesend. Let us be quite clear. The future for pessimism is gloomy. We have to face the harsh reality that pessimism is old-fashioned, outdated, and impossible to achieve. I have therefore decided, without consultation, to change our strategy to that of new pessimism. And so, with the Mark Steele solution in place, pessimism would be wiped out forever and injustice would be so much easier to overcome. Because most people do want a fairer world. Britain at the moment reminds me of when I was 15 and all the boys in our class used to go around saying, "Here, you ever done it?" And I go, "Yeah, of course I have." "How many times?" 10. "Well, I've done it 20. Well, I lied, I've done it 30. And I used to go home and think, I'm the only one who's never done it. All the others have done it, but I have to make it up. And then years later I look back and I realised that every one of us was going home going, I'm the only one who's never done it. All the others have done it, I have to make it up. And that's what Britain's like at the moment. Millions of people are going round thinking, well, I'm furious about all the injustices going on, but nobody else cares. So have a go and at least you'll do is light somebody else's spark. I was in a cafe in Edinburgh reading this book about the Warsaw Ghetto, a place in history where even the leader of the Anti-Pessimism League would have gone, well, you got a point there, mate, that does look rough. And in this book, these blokes were debating whether or not to start attacking the Nazis, and they're all done for anyway, so some of them were saying, well, look, what difference will it make? And then I got to the bit in this book where the resistance fighters decided to do it, and they blew up this Gestapo unit, and I just banged my fist on the table and went, yes, and this sandwich went everywhere. And these blokes in the resistance who did that, they all got done for in the end, so was it really worth it? Well, it was worth it, because it meant that 50 years later, a load of people were sat in a cafe in Edinburgh going, the wee Englishman's mad, be the wee.